Every accomplishment, every empire, every breakthrough in the history of mankind began with a thought. The mind is the original battleground, and thought is its first soldier. Before an action takes shape, before a plan is executed, before a single word is spoken, there is thought, silent, invisible, yet powerful beyond comprehension. What you dwell on in silence becomes the blueprint of the life you build in the world. If your thoughts are scattered, reactive, impulsive, or negative, your reality will mirror that confusion. But if your thoughts are clear, focused, disciplined, and purpose-driven, the world around you will begin to take form in that same image. Everything that exists around you was once imagined by someone who chose to believe in what was not yet visible. The buildings we walk through, the technologies we use, the businesses that dominate economies, even the systems that shape our societies, all were conceived in the mind. This is the ultimate proof that the mind is the original source of power. And yet, very few people take control of their mental environment. They speak too soon, act too fast, and listen too little to the quiet guidance of their own thoughts. They are quick to react but slow to reflect. And so they wonder why their results are inconsistent, or why success remains out of reach. True power belongs to those who understand that the world responds not to noise, but to clarity. And clarity is born in silence. Silence is where you process. Silence is where you reflect, refine, and align. In silence, you can review your own thinking without the interference of the world's distractions. You can identify whether the thoughts you carry serve your purpose or sabotage your progress. Most people are so eager to be heard that they never take the time to listen to themselves. But when you become intentional about what you think, everything begins to change. Your attitude changes. Your decisions become sharper. Your energy becomes more focused. You begin to attract what matches your mindset, not just what you chase with effort. A mind governed by purpose doesn't just wish for success, it expects it, it works for it silently, it prepares for it before it's visible. It invests in the unseen before the rewards are tangible. Your thoughts become your internal operating system. They determine what you see, what you hear, and what you pursue. If you train your mind to believe that everything you need can be created through dedication, vision, and persistent effort, then you are no longer a victim of external conditions. You become a master of circumstance, not a servant to it. There's a dangerous lie in modern culture that says you must constantly express every thought you have, that your value is in your visibility, that silence equals weakness. But nothing could be further from the truth. The wisest minds know that a thought not yet spoken is a thought still under refinement. Speaking too soon is like pouring the foundation of a building before the blueprint is finished. It wastes time. It wastes resources. It exposes you to unnecessary risks. But when you master the art of thinking deeply and patiently, you develop an inner compass that doesn't need constant validation from the outside. So the person who dominates his or her field is rarely the loudest in the room. They are the ones who think strategically while others react emotionally. They are the ones who study while others scroll. They are the ones who imagine possibilities while others repeat excuses. Their thoughts are not ordinary. They are elevated. Their internal dialogue is not chaotic. It is disciplined. They do not wait for perfect conditions to begin. They train their thoughts to create conditions from within. The seed of every transformation is thought, and the soil it grows in is silence. In silence, you can examine the quality of your assumptions. You can question the origin of your fears. You can rewrite your mental programming. You can plant a vision so powerful that it begins to pull you toward it, even when the path seems uncertain. But this cannot happen when your mind is filled with noise. It cannot happen when your thoughts are constantly broadcasted without being refined. It cannot happen when you speak more than you reflect. Thought is your first tool. It is your internal forge, where your future is shaped before a single external move is made. If your thoughts are reactionary, your results will be temporary. But if your thoughts are generative, constructive, and rooted in purpose, they will outlive your words and even your lifetime. The mind is a magnet. What you hold in it, you attract. If you dwell in confusion, conflict, or complaint, you will attract circumstances that reflect those frequencies. But if you feed your mind with clarity, gratitude, vision, discipline, and courage, then your outer reality will begin to bend in response to the quality of your inner world. There is no shortcut to mental mastery. It must be earned through repetition, through stillness, and through a deep commitment to thinking better every day. Not just reacting better, not just feeling better, thinking better. This means catching the lazy thought before it becomes a lazy habit. It means challenging the belief that keeps you small. It means stepping away from the crowd long enough to listen to your own inner truth. And it means understanding that every word you speak, every goal you pursue, every move you make is downstream from your thoughts. Your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. They whisper commands that the world eventually obeys. Belief is invisible, intangible, and deeply personal, but it is always revealed through action. What you do is the loudest testimony of what you believe. You can speak endlessly about your intentions, your dreams, your values, and your goals. But until you move your feet, lift your hands, and take the risk, nothing real is happening. Words may inspire, but only action transforms. Thought initiates the spark, but action fuels the fire. Action is where belief becomes real. It is where the silent confidence you carry begins to translate into movement, into momentum, into manifestation. You can always trace the depth of someone's belief by how far they're willing to go without applause. The strongest faith is not the one spoken in front of others. It's the one proven behind closed doors when no one is watching. Real belief doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't beg for permission. It simply moves. The person who truly believes in their vision does not wait for ideal conditions. They create movement in imperfect ones. They rise earlier. They stay later. They endure more. They talk less and execute more. Their belief isn't on their tongue. It's in their routine. Every time you take action, you are casting a vote for what you believe about yourself. When you put in the work consistently, it says, I believe I'm worthy of this result. When you delay, procrastinate, or avoid, you are silently announcing to the world that you do not fully believe the outcome belongs to you. Most people confuse talk for belief, but talk costs nothing. Talk is cheap, effortless, and endless. That carries no risk. Action, on the other hand, demands a price. It exposes you. It tests your resilience. It invites resistance. And that's why so few people follow through. Not because they don't have dreams, but because they don't have belief strong enough to endure the discomfort that action brings. Talkers stay safe, they stay theoretical. They live in the realm of one day and if only. But doers are different. They get up while the rest complain. They act while others hesitate. They invest where others hoard. They stretch when others shrink. They build something from nothing because their belief is more than just a mental idea. It's a guiding force. It's a code. And that code speaks through action. You can't fake belief forever. Eventually, your actions, or lack thereof, will betray you. You'll either show up every day, whether you feel like it or not, or you'll retreat into comfort and call it waiting for the right time. But the right time never arrives for those who do not act. The world doesn't reward intentions, it rewards courage backed by effort. You can write out your goals 100 times. You can post about your plans, read the books, attend the seminars, quote the greats, even pray for the outcome. But until you do, you are only wishing, not believing. And Chuck, I think that action proves the seriousness of your intent. If you say you want to build a business, but you never make the calls, build a product, or face rejection, then what you want is comfort, not impact. If you say you want to get fit but don't train when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable, then you're merely flirting with transformation, not committed to it. Belief without behavior is fantasy. Real belief is bold. It steps forward even when the path is not fully clear. It knows that waiting for certainty is just another way of saying, I don't trust myself yet. Every action you take is a declaration of identity. The one who shows up daily says, I am the type of person who keeps promises to myself. The one who finishes what they start says, I am not defined by difficulty, I am shaped by discipline. The one who launches the project faces the criticism, pushes through the fear. They are saying, I do not serve fear. I serve purpose. Your belief is not proven in the easy moments. It's revealed in pressure. Will you keep going when the results are slow? Will you continue when support disappears? Will you act when motivation fades and doubt grows? That is when belief either speaks or stays silent. You don't need to shout to the world what you're building. Just build it. Lay the bricks, write the pages, train your body, develop your craft, make the calls, take the steps. Belief doesn't need to explain itself. It just moves. The mistake people make is thinking that they must feel confident before they act. But confidence is not the root. It is the fruit. Action creates it. The more you move, the more you grow. The more you grow, the more your belief strengthens. Momentum feeds mindset. The body in motion stays in motion. And that motion over time generates results that reinforce the very belief that started it all. It becomes a loop, a cycle of empowerment. You act because you believe. And because you act, you believe more. There will always be voices, internal and external, telling you to wait, to doubt, to play small, to stay safe. But your actions can drown them out, not by arguing, not by proving, but by building, by doing, by showing. Action silences doubt more effectively than any mantra or affirmation ever could. It is the evidence that you are aligned with the future you claim to want. Action is not just movement. It is the translation of inner conviction into external creation. It is belief with legs, belief with teeth, belief that bites into life and refuses to let go. There is a silent force that operates beneath the surface of influence, leadership, and personal power. It is mystery. In a world that rewards noise, speed, and oversharing, the one who holds back, who keeps their cards close, who speaks with precision instead of volume, becomes magnetic. There is strength in what is unseen and influence in what is unsaid. Mystery builds tension, and tension holds attention. When you are not easily read, people must lean in closer. When you are not always available, your presence becomes more valuable. The fewer words you speak, the more weight each one carries. The mystery is not about hiding, it is about controlling access. The most powerful individuals do not shout their plans. They do not give away their process. They do not perform their struggle for validation. They move quietly, calculating each step, allowing their results to tell their story in hindsight. The mystery is not in deception, but in restraint. To be mysterious is to understand that attention is a currency, and scarcity increases its value. The moment you become predictable, you become The moment everyone knows what you're doing, thinking, and planning, you lose your edge. The mysterious do not let the world track their every move. They show up when it counts, and that's what makes their presence unforgettable. We live in an era where everyone wants to broadcast their every thought, feeling, and move to the public eye. But the more you expose, the less control you have over perception. Mystery is about creating space between you and the world, a deliberate space that allows others to wonder, to question, to speculate. And in that wondering, they give you their attention. Mystery draws people in because it stimulates curiosity. And curiosity is one of the strongest human impulses. When people can't figure you out, they become intrigued. When they don't know your next step, they watch more closely, and the more closely they watch, the more quietly you win. The mysterious man or woman understands that influence is not about being loud. It's about being strategically seen. They do not chase the spotlight. They let the spotlight come to them. They understand the power of silence in a noisy room. They know that a pause, a glance, or a subtle gesture can command more respect than an entire speech. They are intentional with their presence and economical with their words. And because they reveal so little, what they do reveal carries enormous weight. Mystery also protects you. It shields your goals from premature scrutiny, your process from unnecessary criticism, your confidence from external doubt. When people don't know what you're building, they can't interfere. When they don't know your next move, they can't prepare a counterattack. When you keep your progress quiet, you are free to pivot, adapt, and evolve without the noise of opinion dragging you down. The more people know about your internal world, the more access they have to manipulate or diminish it. Silence isn't just powerful, it's defensive. People often confuse mystery with aloofness or arrogance, but real mystery comes from intention, not ego. It's not about creating distance to seem superior. It's about guarding the sacred. Your vision, your energy, your drive. These are not things to be given freely. They are earned. They are protected. The person who speaks too soon often speaks from insecurity. They are looking for approval, applause, or permission. But the mysterious individual does not seek validation. They seek alignment. They move when it's time to move, and they speak when it's time to speak. Until then, they work quietly, deliberately. Mystery creates perception, and perception shapes reputation. If you are always available, always explainable, always emotionally exposed, you become easy to dismiss. But when you are selective with your access, when you guard your energy, when you remain unpredictable in your movements, people are forced to evaluate you through their imagination rather than their assumptions. And imagination always magnifies what it cannot fully understand. The moment you give everything away, the mystery dies. And with it, a layer of influence disappears. Look at the great leaders, the most respected figures, the most magnetic personalities. They all possess an element of mystery. They reveal just enough to spark interest, but never enough to be fully defined. They are not oversharers. They are storytellers who know the value of a pause, the power of a withheld detail, the strength of an unanswered question. They understand that in silence, others project, and what they project is often more powerful than anything you could have said yourself. Mystery forces people to feel more deeply in your presence. It sharpens their attention. It makes your words more potent, your movements more significant. Every time you walk into a room, every time you decline to explain yourself, every time you listen more than you speak, you are reinforcing your power, because mystery makes people ask questions. And questions give you control. When they ask, what is he thinking? What is she planning? What does he know that we don't? That you've already gained ground without taking a step. You don't have to be secretive to be mysterious. You simply need to be intentional. Share your moves when they're complete, not when they're forming. Speak your thoughts when they're solid, not when they're fragile. Show your results, not your insecurities. The less you expose your strategy, the more control you have over your outcome. This is not deception, it is discipline. It is the discipline of knowing that attention is earned, not begged for. It is the wisdom to understand that silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means something powerful is forming in the dark, beyond the reach of noise, opinion, and distraction. True discipline is not about how much force you can exert. It is about how much force you can control. It's not about domination of others. It's about domination of self. And the highest form of self-control is restraint. In a world that applauds indulgence, immediacy, and impulsive reaction, the individual who can pause, wait, withhold, and walk away holds the real power. Restraint is not weakness. It is the mastery of strength. It is the calm in the chaos. It is the ability to command your emotions instead of being commanded by them. Restraint is the visible edge of invisible discipline. Most people live as slaves to their appetites. They chase every craving, react to every trigger, and speak every thought that enters their minds. But discipline through restraint is the opposite path. It is the art of choosing when not to act, when not to speak, when not to indulge. It is the decision to deny the ego its favorite fuel, reaction. There is enormous energy in the things you don't say, the actions you don't take, the urges you don't satisfy. That silent energy compounds and converts into presence, clarity, control. What you withhold, you store. And what you store becomes strength. Restraint trains you to value long-term impact over short-term relief. It sharpens your ability to delay gratification, to stay steady in discomfort, to choose principle over pleasure. This is not natural. It is not instinctive. It must be forged, because everything in modern life is engineered to break restraint, to distract, to tempt, to seduce. Every screen, every notification, every pleasure on demand has one goal: to weaken your capacity to wait. And the more you react, the more you weaken. But the one who can delay, who can abstain, who can stand still while others rush, they are training something rare. Restraint is mental conditioning. It strengthens the muscle of no. And every no you practice increases the value of the yes you eventually give. When you don't say yes to every opportunity, people take notice of the ones you do. When you don't give your opinion on everything, your voice becomes more potent when you choose to speak. When you don't show your emotions at every turn, your reactions carry weight. It certainly represents the development for respect of others. Our goal is to shed light on that. It is restraint, is not suppression. It is selective attends over impulse. It is intention over impulse. It is strategy always wins in the long game. The disciplined person does not need to announce their strength. Their restraint reveals it. When others lash out, they remain still. When others boast, they observe. When others chase validation, they guard their energy. Restraint is what makes your attention, your time, your approval scarce. And scarcity creates value. People who give themselves to everything are spread thin. People who hold back until the moment is right are focused, refined, powerful. They are never rushed, never forced. They move when they choose, not when pushed. In restraint, there is composure, and composure is one of the rarest currencies of influence. Composure is not the absence of pressure. It is the ability to remain unshaken within it. Restraint is how composure is built. The more you restrain, the more you train yourself to respond instead of react. You learn to wait for clarity instead of acting out of confusion. You gain distance from your own impulses and observe them rather than obey them. And in that distance, you find strength. Most conflict, most regret, most failure stems from a lack of restraint. Saying too much, spending too fast, eating too much, overreacting, overcommitting, giving in. The strongest moments in your life are not the ones where you did something bold, but often the ones where you didn't, where you walked away from what would have ruined you, where you stayed silent when words would have cost you, where you held the line when everything inside you screamed to break it. That is where discipline is proven, not in your push, but in your pause. Every form of greatness is built on restraint. The athlete restrains indulgence to train. The investor restrains greed to wait. The leader restrains emotion to strategize. The builder restrains distraction to focus. The artist restrains chaos to create order. Restraint is the gatekeeper of discipline. It is the foundation beneath control. And without it, talent is wasted, potential is squandered, Opportunity is lost. Without restraint, you are not in command. You are at the mercy of every external influence and every internal weakness. To restrain is to operate from principle, not pressure. It means you are no longer a slave to moods, temptations, or timelines. You decide when to speak, when to act, when to rest, when to move. You are no longer dancing to the rhythm of external demand. You are creating your own tempo. Restraint is what separates the reactive from the deliberate, the common from the elite. It is what allows you to conserve your fire instead of constantly wasting your flame on things that don't matter. There's elegance in restraint, quiet strength, a stillness that unnerves the world because it cannot be manipulated. You cannot be baited into chaos. You do not chase validation. You are not owned by impulse. You move with internal authority, not external permission. Your restraint says, I have power, but I do not need to prove it. That is the posture of someone who has trained themselves to be more than their emotions, their cravings, their fears. They have built a fortress around their focus. They have become immune to urgency. And in that immunity, they are free. Every action, every word, every emotional reaction costs energy. And in the currency of performance, power, and personal mastery, energy is everything. You only have so much to give in a day. So the way you spend that energy determines how far you rise. But more importantly, the energy you save is not just withheld. It is redirected. It becomes fuel. It becomes leverage. It becomes force concentrated in fewer, more meaningful directions. The one who learns how to conserve and channel their energy becomes unstoppable, because while others are drained by distraction, you are investing in impact. Energy is not just physical, it is mental, emotional, spiritual. You leak it every time you argue with someone who doesn't matter. You drain it every time you over-explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You waste it when you react to petty things, when you chase validation, when you fight battles that don't move you forward. The disciplined individual is not just disciplined in action, they are disciplined in attention. They don't let their energy go out through every open door. They are intentional. They understand that where focus goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, life grows. The average person is exhausted not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing too much of what doesn't matter. They burn out on opinions, on gossip, on unnecessary conflict, on digital noise. They give their mental energy to social media arguments, their emotional energy to toxic people, and their physical energy to indulgences that leave them weaker. But the high performer, the focused builder, the quiet winner, they hoard their energy like treasure, not because they're afraid to give, but because they know what it's worth. Energy saved is energy invested. Every time you don't react to a provocation, you've saved emotional fuel. Every time you say no to a distraction, you've preserved mental bandwidth. Every time you walk away from a situation that would have consumed your attention, you've banked energy for something that actually matters. This is how greatness is built. Not just on effort, but on efficient effort, on targeted force. The less you waste, the more you have for what moves the needle. And when you operate with that kind of restraint, you are no longer scattered. You are concentrated. The greatest results come not from doing more, but from doing less, better. But to do less better, you must first protect the source of your output, your energy. That means filtering everything, every task, every conversation, every commitment. Is it worth the cost? Because everything you say yes to costs something. It costs attention, it costs time, it costs emotion. And if you're not measuring that cost, you're losing your most valuable resource without even realizing. This is why silence is powerful, why solitude is strategic, why stillness is a weapon. Because these are the practices that stop energy from bleeding out. When you don't explain yourself, you've saved. When you don't retaliate, you've saved. When you don't indulge every urge to speak, to prove, to post, to perform, you've saved. And that savings becomes a kind of compound interest. Over time, it builds. You start to have reserves. You're no longer running on fumes. You're moving with purpose. You're operating from surplus, not scarcity. The world encourages exhaustion. It tells you to be everywhere all at once, to answer every message, to respond to every emotion, to take every opportunity. But the winners don't live like that. They're not addicted to activity. They're addicted to alignment. They're not everywhere. They're in the right place. They don't talk to everyone. They talk to the right people. They don't take on every task. They go deep on what moves the mission. The power doesn't come from how much they do. It comes from how little they waste. And that's the key, not wasting. You can't scale chaos. You can't build from burnout. You can't perform at a high level if you're constantly reacting, explaining, defending, chasing. Every act of unnecessary output is a subtraction from your reservoir. And you can't invest what you don't have. So the most strategic people don't just ask, what should I be doing? They ask, what should I stop doing? Drivers. That's where the savings begin. That's where the power returns. It takes strength to hold your energy, to not vent it, to not let every emotion explode into expression, to not let every thought become a speech, to not let every desire turn into action. That strength is called maturity. And maturity is what separates noise from power. The immature burn bright and die fast. The mature burn slow and light everything in their path with focused fire. They know that the most dangerous person is not the one who moves the most, but the one who moves with the most stored force. Energy is life force. The more of it you hold, the more life you can create. Whether in business, art, leadership, relationships, it all requires energy. And when yours is intact, preserved, and directed, you move faster, think clearer, decide better. You don't just act, you strike. You don't just show up, you land. You don't just speak, you shift the room. Because your presence carries the weight of unleashed energy, built through the discipline of not giving it away to what is beneath your vision. Talk is cheap. Opinions are everywhere. Promises are easy. But results, real, visible, measurable results, are undeniable. They are immune to interpretation, immune to argument. They do not ask for attention, they command it. In a world obsessed with noise, the individual who moves in silence and lets the results do the speaking holds an authority that can't be faked. Bravely. Because results are not manufactured by words. They are earned in discipline, sharpened in struggle, and proven in the world where it counts. The loudest voice in any room is not the one shouting. It's the one whose actions created something others can't ignore. People can doubt your ideas, question your motives, dismiss your beliefs, but they cannot argue with outcomes. You don't need to defend yourself when your track record speaks for you. You don't have to prove your worth when your performance already has. The scoreboard doesn't lie. The numbers don't flinch. Reality bends to results. Most people exhaust their energy trying to convince others they are capable. They decorate their language with ambition. They post their intentions, declare their goals, build a facade of progress. But the truly dangerous individual, the one who actually builds, executes, and delivers, they stay quiet because they know that noise burns energy, but work builds momentum. They don't sell potential, they deliver evidence, and evidence is irresistible. It makes people pay attention even when they don't want to. It silences doubt without saying a word. You cannot fake consistency, you cannot fake follow-through, you cannot fake mastery. These are proven over time through sweat, through sacrifice, through a relentless refusal to quit. And when the results show up, when the business scales, the body transforms, the art speaks, the income multiplies, the impact grows, then people listen not because you told them to, but because they have no choice. Results make your presence felt before you enter the room and echo long after you leave it. There's a reason the highest performers speak less. They're too busy building proof. Every moment they spend convincing others is a moment stolen from their craft. And they understand a law that most overlook. You are not paid for effort, you are paid for results. Life rewards completion, the market rewards outcomes. The world may admire hustle, but it pays those who finish, who ship, who execute. Who don't just dream, they deliver. You don't rise in life by arguing better, you rise by building better, by producing things others can't, by solving problems others run from, by showing receipts when others show excuses. In any field, results are leverage. They change the way people treat you. They open doors, start conversations, draw respect. Not because of who you are, but because of what you've done. That's the ultimate authority. That's the final word in every negotiation. Silence has weight when backed by results. You no longer have to announce your goals. People already know what you're doing because they can see it. You don't have to claim expertise. Your output demonstrates it. You don't need to convince anyone you're serious. Your track record proves it. This is the edge of the focused. While others are shouting into the void for attention, you're investing that same energy into execution. And that execution speaks volumes. Results don't just win arguments, they erase them. They end the debate. They shift the tone of the conversation. Because when you produce something extraordinary, the room changes. People stop talking. They start listening, not to your pitch, but to your proof. The loudest person may get the first glance, but the one with the results gets the final say. Power doesn't come from making noise. It comes from creating undeniable value. So in this world, perception matters, but only until results arrive. Because once you've done something remarkable, perception aligns. People rewrite the narrative to match your outcome. The same people who ignored you will quote you. The same ones who mocked your silence will amplify your success. Not because they changed, but because your results forced them to. That's the beauty of staying quiet and doing the work. You don't have to convince anyone. You just become undeniable. Results are magnetic. They attract opportunity, resources, talent, and respect. They create demand. They give you the luxury of not chasing, not begging, not explaining. Because when you've built something real, people come to you. When you've proven your capacity, your voice carries weight without needing volume. The market listens. Leaders notice. Competitors flinch. All because of what you've done, not what you said you would do. And that's the lesson most miss. It's not about intention. It's not about effort. It's about what gets done. You can have the best mindset, the cleanest routine, the strongest vision, but if there are no results, the world keeps moving. Results are what put you on the map. They're what elevate your words, amplify your reputation, and extend your influence. They're the foundation under the empire. And when you focus relentlessly on results, everything else follows. Your reputation is not built by what you say, it's built by what you show. And what you show must be rooted in performance, in completion, in proof of work. Because at the end of the day, people remember what worked. They remember what got built.